The very first thing I wanted to kind of touch on was the idea that we are in and wrapping up a 9-year. So in Chinese numerology, this has been the year of the snake, shedding old skin, and we're moving into a 1 year, and then it continues a 2 year the next year until we hit 9 again, and then we're at a 1 year. So I think this is really fascinating, and I just wanted to pipe in with a couple of thoughts about what this means. If this is something you've never heard of, or if this is something you have studied deeply. It's almost like studying not just numerology, but astrology. It's like a language. And even though we live in this matrix and astrology and all of the things are part of the program, there are guidances and there are energies that are associated with this. So to me, all of this is fascinating, and it all requires touching on here and there. Entering the year of the horse, which is 2026, the horse brings momentum, freedom, innovation, and bold movement. That's one of the things I love the most about a 1 year, is we're talking about action. Shedding old skins from a year 9, but as we move into this new year, we're talking about bold movement, which I absolutely love that. So this shift often represents humanity stepping out of contemplation and into action, breaking constraints, moving rapidly toward new systems, ideas, and social direction. I thought that would be a really kind of fascinating way to start this, because what came through in my journaling all week long, the number one thing I really had at the forefront is, as we move into this new year, as we watch what the world is doing and the things that maybe scare us as humanity or give us a moment of pause or whatever, instead of saying what's the worst that can happen, I wanted to swap that. And I've kind of been talking about this the last few weeks, but I wanted to think about what is the best that can happen out of these times that we're in. And I think if we switch our mindset to that, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, right? So it's a situation like that. It's like all the good things that are happening, all the good things that this chaos is bringing, you might not be able to see it. So instead of saying what is the worst that can happen, I think you should prepare for the worst, but what is the best that can happen? So the very first thing that I actually came up with, which is kind of fascinating, I feel like what's happening is that we are moving out of adolescence as a species. So think about the human species. We've been in this adolescent period where things trigger us, and I'm talking about collectively, because of course, threaded through all of this, there are wisdom keepers and people who've always been on a higher timeline and people who've always vibrated with higher frequencies, and there's always been that. But I'm talking about collectively, as humanity, we have been in adolescence. And think about people who are going through adolescence and they're basically children. So here's what I wrote. So the best thing that can happen is that we can stop being children. Okay? And I'm talking collectively, and I'm not talking about emotionally. I'm talking about existentially. Here's what I think happens when you're a child, whether you're 90 years old right now, or 70 or 50 or 30, whether you're an adult in chronological years, but as a species, you're still trapped in part of that adolescence. So here's what children believe. We believe that someone is in charge. We believe that someone will fix it. And we believe that someone else knows better. Someone knows better, not us. Okay? So what is happening, I believe, is that this whole myth about someone's going to save us, someone's going to fix it, someone else is responsible for that. This is a myth that's collapsing. This is so obvious that we are the ones that are responsible for the outcomes in our life and everything that comes along with that. So the best outcome is not what we would consider safety, but it's adulthood. We are now moving as a species collectively into adulthood. Now, are there going to be some people that are going to be left behind as far as, and I'm just talking about there's always a percentage who doesn't come along with what's happening, okay? So this is what adulthood means to me. Adulthood means there's no saviors, there's no parents, quote, quote, parents. There's no invisible hand. I don't need, someone else telling me what to do. I get to be responsible. And I'm not talking about not following the rules of society that keep society functioning and cohesive. I'm talking about personal, individual responsibility. That is what being an adult means. And all of the things that happen along with it. I think that is honestly what we're moving into. No saviors, no parents, and no invisible hand. Only responsibility, choice, and then the most important thing, consequence. Because when we do actions, when we do things that aren't congruent with whatever, there are always consequences, and not just bad consequences, but good consequences, okay? There are always consequences, and that's partly what being an adult means. This can be terrifying to think about that. This can be really terrifying, but then what I wrote is this, but this is freedom.